world, students know about Christopher Columbus, who discovered the Americas. They know about Vasco da Gama, who finds the route to India. They also know about Martin Luther, the German reformist. They know about Machiavelli, the Italian political author. And interestingly, all of these, Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, Machiavelli, Martin Luther, were contemporaries of Guru Nanak, or Baba Nanak, as we lovingly call him. And what is important here is the fact that shows that Baba Nanak is not a prophet from some ancient times. He is a man whose impact on world history is recent and his message is contemporary and fresh. Being here at UC Davis, among students and readers of religion, history, arts, is an opportunity that allows us to celebrate Baba Nanak. And I'm thankful to Dr. Nicole Ranganathan for organizing this event and this opportunity to meet all of you, and also to Dr. Brar for being the reason why we are here today. To have this discourse in this academic, in this cultural setting is important, because today, 550 years after Guru Nanak's birth, we find that the Guru has become largely associated with Sikhs and the faith. To the point that sometimes we think that the Sikhs have a copyright on Guru Nanak, like a patent on Guru Nanak. And this has inadvertently pushed away many people who were drawn to Guru Nanak's writings, either for the literary and the philosophical excellence, or for the richness of their spiritual message. And I recently had the opportunity to visit Pakistan, where I was deeply humbled to see the deep devotion that the Nanak Panthi community, or the Nanak Naam Leva community, has for Guru Nanak. It is they who have been taking care of the Gurdwaras which were abandoned when, after the departure of the Khalsa Sikhs in 1947. And they continue to do so even today. So we see that Guru Nanak is this unique individual who is not only exclusively associated with one faith, but belongs to all of humanity. And when we examine the paintings and the visual references that we have of Guru Nanak, we understand this even further, the beauty of his legacy. Now, while we do not know for a fact how Guru Nanak the man looked like, was he tall, was he dark, fair, stout? We don't know. And unfortunately, we might never know, because there is no contemporary portrait made of him during his lifetime. The earliest references that we have to him are found in these texts called Janam Sakhis, which are these classical manuscripts, the earliest of which we have is from, I think, 1630s. Now, a bulk of these Janam Sakhis were produced in the 18th and the 19th centuries. And when these rich and illustrious families would commission artists to create these for their personal use. And it is one such Janam Sakhi which was commissioned by the ancestors of Dr. Narinder Singh Kapani when they were the head of the Patna Sahib Gurdwara, which is today in the permanent collections of the Asian Art Museum in Sanjha. Francisco. And it is from this Janam Sakhi that I'd like to share with you. This Janam Sakhi that I'd like to share with you, one of my favorite paintings, which is this vibrant miniature painting, which shows Guru Nanak visiting his elder sister, Bibi Nanki. Now, in the frame, we also have Pai Mardana and we have Pai Bala and another attendant behind Bibi Nanki. Now, Bibi Nanki is shown bowing before the Guru in a gesture of trying to touch his feet. But Guru Nanak, with his hands raised, is trying to stop her from doing that. And when I see this painting, I am reminded of Guru Nanak's strong belief in gender equality, which is, in his writings, he strongly criticizes 16th century society for according women an inferior status. So when I see this painting, I see Baba Nanak walking the talk. Now, the second painting that I would like to share with you is from the 18th century. And here we see a pious elderly man with a grey beard sitting on the floor, resting against a cushion and holding in his left hand a small red book. In the background, we also see a beautiful lake, and further ahead we have some dwellings and trees and greenery. Now, judging by the headgear and the style of robes, we can say that this is a painting of a Muslim Pir. But when we look at the inscription at the top of this painting, which is in Farsi, and in Persian it reads, Tasveer Darvesh Nanak Shahi. And we also know that this painting was made in the Lucknow region. So putting these information together, we can probably safely say that the artist is a Muslim who has painted a portrait of Guru Nanak in his imagination of how he thinks a holy man would look like. Because if you remember, no artist has seen Guru Nanak when the portraits have been done. Now, moving to this painting is from the 19th century. And this is also a beautiful miniature in which Guru Nanak is the central figure. He's shown sitting on a raised takht, and he is reading or perhaps singing from a small red book held high in his left hand, which is resting on a sadhu's staff, which was very commonly associated with yogis and sadhus, and they used it to rest their arms while they were meditating. And Pai Mardana is shown playing the rabab, and there is another attendant behind the Guru who is waving a peacock feather whisk reverently. Now, this time, the Guru appears to be a sadhu from the Hindu tradition, indicated by the tilak mark on his forehead, his yellow robes, and the mala around his neck, as well as the staff that he has resting under his arm. So, what does the real Guru Nanak look like? Is it the painting that we saw before, or is it this one? And I think I'll just leave it there, is that we are welcome to take our pick, whichever traditions we want to see. Now, this beautiful 19th century miniature, which is also on the cover of Dr. Brard's wonderful book, is representative of most early portraits of Guru Nanak, in which he is shown wearing some form of a cap or a topi instead of a turban. And this painting is in the very classic contemplative pose, which shows the Guru with a silly topi on his head, and he has an embroidered shawl draped over his shoulders. But it is his robe that catches our eye, because it is inscribed with Arabic verses from the Quran. Pai on the sleeves and the edges of the hem of the robe are verses from the Japji Sahib. So here we have a painting of Baba Nanak, which has elements from both the traditions, the Hindu as well as the Muslim. And perhaps the artist is inspired by the robe that Guru Nanak was gifted by the Caliph of Baghdad during his fourth Udasi, which was in, I think, 1520s when Guru Nanak visits Baghdad. And this robe, I believe, is preserved at the Gurdwara in Dera Baba Nanak in Charda, Punjab. Now, apart from the paintings that we have seen so far, we've seen paintings from the 18th and the 19th centuries. We also have some very interesting references to Guru Nanak in textiles. And some of these textiles were created very far away from the Punjab. Like this silk rumala, which shows the classic conclave of the 10 gurus with Pai Mardana, and it has centrally placed trays of Kada Prasad in the center. Now this rumala was crafted by Chinese artists, and it was commissioned by the Sikh soldiers when they were stationed there in the 1800s during the British colonial period. Now, while the earlier paintings had elements from different traditions, here it is the features of the gurus which are unique to the artist's imagination, which look very naturally Chinese. I have a close-up which I'd like to share with you. So we can clearly see Guru Nanak here looks like a Chinese emperor, I would think, and so do the other gurus. Their features are accordingly. And another interesting aspect in this text, Rumala, is that in the center, between the trays of Kada Prasad, there is this motif. And this motif, I believe, is something which is sacred in the Chinese tradition. So you also have these influences of different cultures coming into this visual imagery. So after this, we'll move to the 20th century now, with this painting, which is the traditional representational style by the 20th century Sikh artist Shobha Singh. Now, Sardar Shobha Singh yet again portrays Guru Nanak differently. But this time, we can finally recognize a Sikh of today. Other than the halo which is behind the Guru's head, which signifies divinity, Guru Nanak is now looking like a grandfatherly Sikh of our times. Now this portrait is a manifestation of Shobha Singh's meditations and his devotions to the Guru. Because for Shobha Singh believed that his art, the purpose of which is to inspire the viewer to follow in the footsteps of the Gurus. Now we come to the 21st century, at which time one of the significant developments that is gaining momentum is the increasing number of women artists, including Arpana Kaur, who has painted this very recent portrait of Guru Nanak, which also is the same. He's wearing a silly topi on his head. He's got a blue robe, a shawl draped over his shoulders, a mala in his hand. His eyes are closed and he's deep in meditation. But it is not representational, it is more in the expressionist style. So we see that we have seen paintings and depictions of Guru Nanak from 4 different centuries, 18th, 19th, 20th and 21st. But what we have not seen is any consistency in how Guru Nanak is portrayed. So what we can confidently say that these paintings are not of the historical Guru Nanak, but of a man of that time and society, painted by different artists from different backgrounds, different faiths, different geographical areas. Just as they envisioned Guru Nanak would look like. So we find that if the artist is a Hindu, they have painted him like a sadhu. If the artist is Muslim, he is painted like a pir. And then we also have some paintings in which we have both the elements, which is also true because Guru Nanak is known to have dressed in a way which would not identify him with any one community in particular. And for me, this is the timeless beauty and aesthetic of the visual memory of Guru Nanak. He is as we imagine him to be. And we find that Baba Nanak's legacy today lives in the 27 million Sikhs worldwide. It also lives in the community of the Nanak Panthis, which form a major part of the Hindu community in Pakistan. And it also lives in the Muslim musicians from the family or the descendants of Bhai Mardana, who continue to sing his devotional verses in Gurdwaras even today. So as I remember, Nanak Shah Fakir, Hindu ka Guru, Musalman ka Pir. This is how the world loves and experiences Guru Nanak.